Welcome to DRT, Direct Real Talk with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. I'm Assistant Commissioner for the Enforcement and Compliance Division, Liz Recchia. This podcast is designed to bring you information and insight into the world of the Arizona Department of Real Estate. The department is obligated to comply with the law and with Arizona Administrative Code. But how the department makes decisions and the considerations brought to that decision-making is interesting and necessary to understand, since the mission of the department is to protect the public interest through licensure and regulation of the real estate profession in Arizona. Join me for a conversation with the Department of Real Estate Licensing Division staff. Michelle, Monica, and Elena will help us understand changes to the licensing process, rules, and laws. Some of the highlights to listen for. The new inactive status for licensees. You may now choose between two license statuses when not actively practicing real estate: inactive or eligible. Inactive status would be chosen by someone who will not be taking continuing education classes while inactive for up to 15 years. When the licensee in this status chooses to go active, there will be a graduated CE requirement in order to become active for hire. Licensees who choose not to practice for a while and wish to remain eligible to practice may choose the eligible status. In this status, a licensee would pay renewal fees every 2 years and submit the required CE every 2 years. Fingerprint clearance cards are required for licensure, but there has been a legislative change. Listen for Elena's explanation of the changes. Are you applying for your license? Michelle and Monica explain what you need to do in order to efficiently become licensed by the department. More changes to law include temporary broker status, place of business, and a broker's ability to have a virtual office. Now let's meet Michelle, Monica, and Elena. Well, I want to welcome Michelle, Monica, and Elena here at DRE for our discussion today on licensing. And this is our attempt to help you understand, as the public and a licensee, what licensing is, if you're going to become a licensee, how that paperwork, the forms, the information you need, the resources available to you, and if you're going to renew your license, the same thing, the resources, the forms, and the other information you need so you can go ahead and do that without having to worry about missing a particular piece of information that these ladies need you to submit in order for your license to be activated or renewed. So I'd like to welcome Elena, Michelle, and Monica. And let's start with, tell us a bit about yourselves, your job, and what you do here at the department. And we're going to start with Michelle.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I've been with ADRE for 3 years, and I work in licensing, and I help people that come in or call or submit messages wanting to get their real estate license. We process the paperwork, we answer questions regarding steps they need to take.
Okay, and Monica?
Hi, I'm Monica. I work in licensing as well. And to backpedal on what Michelle was saying, we also form entities. We help with forming LLCs, corporations, sole proprietorships. We help with every process along the way from beginning to end.
And Elena?
Thanks for having me back, Liz. Elena Kowaleski, Assistant Commissioner. I wear many hats, so I'm the Assistant Commissioner over Licensing, Education, Development Services. I'm the agency ombudsman, the agency's legislative liaison, and the tribal liaison. But today we're talking about licensing, so I manage the licensing division, and I'm happy to be here with two of my specialists. So thank you for having me, Liz.
Well, thank you all for being here. So let's start out with something pretty basic here. For many of the licensees, Monica and Michelle will be their first contact with DRE and trying to find out what they need to know. And you will probably have some of the most frequent interactions with our licensees as well. So if I come in and I'm applying for a license, I'm a brand new licensee, hoping to be a brand new licensee, how would I find out what forms are necessary, how to file for approval, other information that you need in order to process me so that I can become an active licensee? Michelle, you want to start us off with some of the things that you think are most important?
Well, we do list on our website, azre.gov. If you look under licensing, you will see that there is a brochure that tells you all of the paperwork that is required to submit to obtain your license. It's pretty straightforward. If you just follow that list, you'll be good.
Okay. And Monica, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, that would be the best advice, just to follow the list. It goes bullet point by bullet point on what you need. And if you have any questions at all, you can always go ahead and reach out to us directly.
Yeah, so I'm out there. I'm looking at the website. I have a question about the form I'm trying to fill out for my license or my renewal. How do I get a hold of you to ask a question?
You can either call the department directly, or you can message us in the message center, and we can help with whatever you need regarding whatever form. When you go to the message center, there's a drop-down menu regarding the topics, and then it'll narrow it down to which division in the department that will respond back to you.
And our website is loaded with a lot of helpful information, but sometimes it might be confusing to get to the right division that you're looking for. So if you're trying to get to the message center, on the top of the website, on the right-hand side, there's a contact button. The first item on the drop-down menu is message center. So that's another avenue of how you can reach the message center and contact our wonderful licensing specialists.
And Michelle, I know you were talking to me the other day about one of the things that you really want people to know is they need to have their license number if they're renewing or they're a current licensee. Tell us why that's important when they contact you.
Well, when people call and they ask us to look them up in our system, the very first thing I'm going to ask you is, what is your license number? That is the easiest way to find the information. I can look you up by your name, but if your name's Mary Smith, odds are we probably have several Mary Smiths in there. So again, I appreciate when they learn their license number, 2 letters, 9 numbers, and that's the easiest way for us to find you. We'll punch that number in, pull your information up, and then we can answer any questions that you have concerning your license or renewal or anything, really.
And if there's ever a time where you forget your license number, we do have a public database. So in that public database, you can search any licensee in our system by typing in their first or last name or their license number, and it will pull up their license and a copy of their certified history and if they have any disciplinary action. So if you're looking for another way to find out what your license number is, if perhaps you need your license number over the weekend, that would be another avenue in which you could look to get your license number if the department is not available.
And if you're a member of the public, then, and you want to know if the agent that you're working with or the broker you're working with, if they have any disciplinary actions, then Elena just let you know how you can look that up easily by yourself, 24/7, 365. It's on that message on the website to be able to look up a licensee. You can also look up brokerages there. So that information is available to the public at any time. When we talk about the message center, there's a public message center and then there's the licensee's message center. So let's talk about the difference between the two. If I'm a member of the public and I go onto the website, I'm going to look for message center on, I believe it's the left-hand side of the screen for most pages. Is there a drop down as well?
There is a drop down. So the easiest way to access it would be to go on the top of our website where it says contact, and then the first item on the drop down, it says message center. That is the easiest, but every tab on our website has a link where you can access the message center.
And then if I'm a licensee, if I already have a license, broker or sales, whether I'm an instructor or school, I have a login. So when I log in, that's the message center I use, correct?
Yes, when you first go to azre.gov, you'll click on the licensee login page, and there's a sentence that says, if this is your first time logging in, click here. You're going to click there, you'll create your profile and set your password. And that, when you want to contact us or submit stuff via the message center, that's how you're going to log in. You'll log in. That way it'll have your license number on it. So that's the easiest way for us to go in, is grab that license number from your message and put it in our system so I can find you. Real easy.
And then as you converse back and forth with people, because not only can they send you messages, but you can send messages back to them. It's always contained in their profile.
Yes, and then it keeps it in the same thread when you're talking back and forth. And so that if you need to refresh your memory, you can review those emails and see where you're at in the process.
And if you are not licensed just yet and you're considered a candidate, someone who's able to take the state exam or not yet at that point, or you're a member of the public, anyone is welcome to send us a message to the message center. However, we will not get your message unless you confirm your email. So after sending a message to the message center, there will be an email that populates that will ask you to confirm your email. If you do not confirm your email, we will not receive the message. So that's something that's really important to note. Whether you're a member of the public or a licensee that is not using their licensee login, you'll have to confirm your email for us to receive the message.
Right, and absolutely, I think that's a really good point, because a lot of people will call and say, I sent you a message 4 days ago, and we'll search for it, and then I'll find the message, and it'll say that they hadn't confirmed their email. So then I'll ask them, you should have a notifications email telling you need to confirm your email address. And then once they do that, email pops right up.
Okay, that's good to know. Great. So if I am trying to contact you and I have decided that phone call or message center for whatever reason isn't going to be a solution for me, but I still need to talk to you, I'd like to come into the department. Can I come into the department and speak to a person? And if I can, how do I do that?
You can come into the department, but we now have a requirement where you'll submit a request to set an appointment. We'd like at least a 15-minute lead time. If you've come to our building and didn't realize that we have appointments, if you just call us up, we'll need your name, your first name, your full name.
Yeah, so like Michelle was saying, to set an appointment at ADRE, whether it be with licensing or investigations or enforcement or compliance or just popping in to say hi, you will need to have an appointment. So to schedule an appointment with ADRE, we ask that you go to our message center, click the appropriate division that you're looking to meet with, and then state in a brief message the purpose for your appointment. So therefore, we can be prepared once you arrive. We would prefer to have a 15-minute lead time just so we have the appropriate staff in office that is also prepared to meet with you. But we, by all means, encourage you to set an appointment with us if you'd like to meet face-to-face instead of having us work with you one-on-one over the message center. We're always welcoming you at the department. We just ask that you create an appointment so we can give you our undivided attention.
Okay, great. And then if they just want to drop something off, do they need to make an appointment for that?
They do still need to make an appointment to drop something off, so security will be notified that it is you who is dropping off your documents, and they will allow you up to the department.
Okay, great. Well, so now we can go on to the next item, which we've been able to contact you, but maybe one of the reasons we're contacting you is because there's been a change in the law that we just found out about, or we forgot to do something else that we needed to. But currently, one of the things that we're dealing with here at the department are the new laws and how that impacts our processes, our procedures, and then questions that the public or the licensees might have on how that's affecting individuals. So let's sort of go over one of the things that did have a change, and that was to fingerprint card clearance card. I'm sorry, to the fingerprint clearance card. There was an update in law. Can you tell us about those changes and how it impacts licensees?
Of course, I'd be happy to go over the changes with the fingerprint clearance card. So essentially the change was if we receive notification from DPS that your license or your fingerprint clearance card has had a suspension or a conviction attached to that, they would notify us, and that gives the department the ability to potentially suspend your license. So that is not something that happens immediately once we receive the notification from DPS. But in the event that that was to be something that happens to your license with your fingerprint clearance card, you would need to apply for a good cause exemption. So when you do apply for that good cause exemption, you need to send the department a copy of the application of the good cause exemption within 5 days of filing that. If we do not receive your copy of your application for the good cause exemption, your license may be suspended. So a good cause exemption does take some time to get approval or denial, oftentimes up to 30 days. So with knowing the time frame that goes along with that, the department will not be pressing you on that. However, when you do receive an answer to your good cause exemption, we would need to see a copy of that within 10 days of you receiving that. If you do get a granted good cause exemption, we would require you to submit a valid copy of your fingerprint clearance card, front and back, within 90 days of that good cause exemption application. If you do not submit to the department within 90 days a valid fingerprint clearance card, your license may be suspended.
Okay, good information to know. And then we had additional laws that went into effect. And just for general information, for those who may not know, in Arizona, our general effective date for new legislation was September 14th, 2024. It changes every year depending upon when the legislature ends up ending their session. And this year, our date for effective laws was September 14th. So with that, as of September 14th, we have several new laws, and we're going to start going through a few of them that will definitely be affecting licensees and possibly the public. Many have heard that we have a new status for people who, for whatever reason, have a license, but they need to put it on hold for a while. They're not going to practice, or they can't practice because of the criteria of the new job they took. And so they don't want to get rid of their license. They just want to put it on hold until they're ready to practice again. So that's an inactive status. But now we have two statuses, inactive and eligible, and inactive can go for as long as 15 years. One of the things that people are asking, is that really true? Can you be inactive for 15 years? And the second part of that is, I don't have to take CE at that point, correct? So let's have a discussion about, is that correct? Is the 15 years correct? Is the CE requirement correct? What is that?
You are correct. That is a new law that went into effect September 14th. And yes, you absolutely can go inactive for up to 15 years. There is a form that you have to submit to take your license to inactive status. You will be required to pay that renewal fee every 2 years when you're in that status. However, you will not be required to do those continued education hours every 2 years. When you are ready to go back to eligible status, you will be required to complete some CEs in order to get your license back to eligible status.
Say you were inactive for 15 years, then you would need to take all those accrued CEs throughout that duration that you were inactive. So by the time you want to go into eligible status, you will need that along with your fees paid.
So let's talk about what eligible status does for me. If I want to be in eligible status, and maybe I don't want to go 15 years without taking CE, can I be in eligible status and do CE?
Yeah, you could still do your CEs every 2 years.
Compare eligible status to our previously known inactive status. If you are eligible, that means that every 2 years you have completed your required CE and paid your renewal fee. So being an eligible status, that just means that you're able to hire on with a broker and that you are up to date on your continued education. Now, going back to the 15-year inactivation, you do have to pay your renewal fee every 2 years. If you do not pay your renewal fee timely, your license will go to expired status. You can submit a late renewal fee. However, if you do not pay that renewal fee within a year, your license will go to expired status. You will have then 1 year before your license goes to terminated status. So although you're in that 15-year inactivation period, if you do not pay your fee, there is a chance that your license would become terminated and you would be required to start the process over again.
Starting with classes?
Starting with classes, yes, and taking the exam again.
Okay, so that means that with an eligible status, I'm taking my CE every 2 years as I would expect. I'm then renewing my license. And then when I'm ready to activate, I can do it very, very quickly, correct?
Very quickly.
How would I activate?
You'll log in. When you log in, a bunch of quick links will come up and one will say add or change my employer. And then you will click on that. You will need to know the entity license number for the brokerage that you want to hire on with. You'll enter that. You'll hit submit. It will send a request to that brokerage. And once they accept it, that's what will flip you back to active status and you can work.
Okay, that's good to know. Really good information. Now let's talk about some of the brokers who, this may be good news, one of the changes in the law was that you no longer have to have a definite place of business be a brick and mortar. So it doesn't need to be your home. It doesn't need to be a retail spot. You can actually have a definite place of business that can include the ability to have a statutory agent. So would someone like to help us understand a little more about what that means and how I make sure you know I have a statutory agent?
Yeah, so brick and mortar is no longer a requirement, and you just must have a statutory agent with an Arizona address, and they're required to inform the department where all files and documents are stored.
And the reason why we ask that you notify us of where your files are stored, you could have them in an online platform or an online storage facility. We just require that all of your files be available for the commissioner to review upon reasonable request. So therefore, your files can't be in Georgia without us knowing that they're there. We were pleased that we could change this law where you're not required to have a specific or definite place of business in Arizona to allow people to have those virtual offices. We know that it oftentimes is hard to keep a brokerage place of business open where no one's wanting to go into the office anymore. So we were really excited to get this law passed and allow licensees and brokers the ability to have a virtual office or not an office at all, but we still do need to have a person or a statutory agent where we or anyone in the state of Arizona could serve someone with certified papers.
And the key to that is, just like when you had a brick and mortar, you had to update to the department about the change of address. What are the rules around updating the department if the statutory agent changes?
With any change to your personal information, any change to an address, or any change at all to your brokerage, you must notify the department of the change within 10 business days.
Okay, so that stays the same.
That has remained the same.
Doesn't matter which information. All right. We have a lot of out-of-state brokers and salespersons who want to become licensed in Arizona, and there was a significant change in the licensing requirements for this group of people, the out-of-states. So tell us a little bit about what that change was so that an out-of-state broker or salesperson knows what they need to do in order to become licensed here in Arizona.
I would say the biggest change that is in place is when you're submitting your license history from the state that you're coming from, you have to be in active status.
Yes, so your license has to be active in another state to be recognized in Arizona. If your license is inactive in another state, that's not considered current. Therefore, your license in a different state would not be recognized for out-of-state license recognition in Arizona. But an amazing change that passed with this law is that out-of-state licensees no longer have to take a 27-hour specific course in order to obtain an Arizona real estate license. What we do ask and require now is that an out-of-state licensee either A, have the requirements with an active license in another state, and then B, to pass the state exam that is specific to Arizona to get their real estate license. So what a big change, but a great change to remove the 27-hour requirement and just allow them to take the state exam in order to obtain a real estate license with using recognition from their license in another state.
Great. And does this apply to active duty and active duty spouses as well? Because we have a lot of military here.
It does apply to them as well. However, they actually have a different privilege, one that they definitely deserve. So to show our appreciation for our military vets, active veteran status, a spouse of a military, you can actually bypass the schooling and test entirely, and you may qualify for a fee waiver. So if you have any questions pertaining that with a military status or a military spouse status, please give us a call or send us a message, and we'd be happy to tell you the items that we grant to you to show our thanks for your service of the United States of America.
Thank you. So one of the things that brokers have to deal with is their records retention and the availability to DRE should DRE decide to audit their records and make sure they're in compliance. Let's just real quick, because you already alluded to this, but let's just make sure people understand what is it that a non-resident broker would have to do in order to fulfill that records retention requirement.
You do not have to have physical records stored in Arizona. However, if you're you can use an online platform, but you will need to let us know where the record storage is and what platform you're using, because we have to be able, if we need to, the commissioner has to be able to review any documents once they've submitted a reasonable request to you to review documents. So that's why we want you to always let us know which kind of storage platform you're using. We have to know.
So ARS 322151.01 are brokered record requirements. Whether you're an in-state broker or an out-of-state broker, we need to know where your files are at in the event that you are audited or someone in your licensing firm requests a document. You have to have your files in a storage facility and held up to 5 years depending on what type of contract it is. So that would be ARS 2151.01 for license record retention and broker requirements.
So the virtual requirement is very similar to the physical records. If you have physical records, you have to maintain for the same period of time, and you have to let the department know where to find those physical, and that now virtual version is the same type of thing.
Correct, yes. So upon a reasonable request, that wouldn't be us saying, we need to see your file immediately within 30 seconds. That's not reasonable. But we do require that your documents are held in a storage facility, that the department knows of the location, and upon reasonable request, you would be able to grant the department access to see those files.
Okay, great. That clears that up a lot. So now staying with brokers for a moment, if a broker dies, what are the updated rules for making brokerage arrangements?
It used to be when your designated broker passed away, somebody could step in as a temporary broker for up to 90 days, and then you would finish up business and close down the brokerage. But now we're allowing you to bring another designated broker in as your DB, and you do not have to close down the brokerage.
Yeah, so the brokerage does not require to be dissolved or sold. And for 90 days, anyone over the age of 18 can be the temporary broker. And during that 90-day period, when you're switching to a new designated broker, no new business is to be conducted until a new DB is on the entity's license. So that's really important to know.
So in the event of a designated broker dying that was an owner of an LLC, the law before would not allow for the entity to survive. You would have to shut down the entity. A temporary broker could fill in, and that could be an heir or a licensee within the current firm. But now the law adjusted, so the brokerage does not have to shut down. Someone can take over that brokerage and fulfill the requirement of a new designated broker. But please note, until a new designated broker has been installed, the temporary broker that is filling in may not take on any new business or clients until that new designated broker has been installed.
So that's really good news that a brokerage that has a long history and is a family run can still go on. They just need to now make sure that they have that DB in place to carry on. That's really good news for those companies in particular. All right, one last question for you. We've talked about several things and some law updates, but there's probably some items that each of you wish people knew about, or some common questions that you get repeatedly that you would like them to know the answers to up front right now. So I'm going to ask each of you to let us know, what is the thing you would like the public, licensees, or both to know before they contact us, so that you can give them the best service and answer their questions to the best of your ability. And we're going to start with Monica.
Definitely the salesperson application checklist. That's going to be one of the most handy tools that you'll have at your disposal. It's pretty straightforward, and it has everything for you to include in your application, so you don't have any second guessing that you need to do. So I would recommend definitely reviewing that whenever you can.
And it is, most of our forms do have a checklist, and it gives you a numbered item. And I like to tell people when they call, if you follow that checklist exactly, you will have no issues. You will have submitted everything correctly, and it'll be a quick, easy process for you to get your license, which is what our end goal is. We want you to be licensed. We want to help you get your license.
And it's good to know there's a checklist so you don't have to worry.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, follow that checklist. The checklist is very informative. It tells you everything
it's pretty thorough.
you need, and just follow that. And that's what I like to tell people: follow that checklist. If you have any questions about it, please call, because I'm more than happy to help you.
That's great. Is there anything else you would like people to know?
I would just like to say that I get really excited when people call in and tell me they've passed their test, and I find it so exciting. That's a hard test. Mm-hmm. So I'm very impressed with the people that come in. I enjoy when they come in. I love talking to people. It's very exciting. It's very exciting, this job. It's nice watching people get excited because they're embarking on a new career. And I find that exciting.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah, I'm really proud to be working here as well, even though I'm still a little new. But being able to actually make a difference in people's lives too, and actually help them achieve their goals and go with them along the way with every step. It's really inspiring, and we love just helping everyone. Please call. Don't hesitate to call. If you have any questions, that's what we're here for, and we're here to help you and see you succeed.
There are a few things that I would like to make note of, and one being in regards to a process that we have. So going back to fingerprint clearance cards, when you have first initially applied for your real estate salesperson or broker's license, you needed to supply the department with copies of your fingerprint clearance card, being the front and back of the card. When you renew your license, that is considered an application. So you are required to submit the front and back of your fingerprint clearance card at the time of your renewal as well. And I know that some people have brought this up recently, but the entire time that you are practicing real estate with your real estate license, whether it be salesperson or broker, you are required to have a valid fingerprint clearance card at all times. And I know that has been a question that were raised by a few licensees of submitting their fingerprint clearance card when they renew every 2 years. That is something that we require. You do have to keep it valid as long as you're practicing real estate sales and or campground membership or anything that we license at all. And the second item would be that our numbers fluctuate quite often with our licensing, and the number of licensees that we have, I've seen it go all the way up to 83,000 licensees. And while we have a very small division, I like to consider our licensing division the front lines. Not only are they employees that are located in the front of the office, where when someone from the public comes into our office, or a member or a licensee, they first see our licensing team. They see things first, they deal with things firsthand. And within our licensing division, I believe we have around 4 people who would handle licensing applications. So for 4 people to handle over 83,000 licensees, I would just like to extend my thanks to my licensing team for them to being able to accomplish and take care of our 83,000 licensees. So our licensing team is wonderful. They can handle a lot. They're very welcoming. So please never hesitate to pick up the phone and call. They are so friendly, and they love seeing your faces every 2 years.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate your time. And for those of you who are listening, I hope you found this interesting and informative. I hope you found the licensing information discussed today interesting and helpful. Remember, the Arizona Department of Real Estate website has links to the Message Center, licensing forms and information, and a host of information for the public and licensees. The website is azre.gov. You may also call or make an appointment to meet in person. I'm Liz Recchia. Thanks for joining me today, and remember, keep up, keep current with ADRE.